Now we will start with the study of adaptive radiation. As we all know that different organisms depend on different environmental conditions for their survival, which changes from time to time and place to place. Hence, organisms which are necessary for survival adjust themselves to the changes in environment in which they live. This is called adaptation. Therefore, adaptation can be defined as the adjustment of the organism to their environment for survival. Thus, the same species organism in different environments exhibit different types of habitats and nature. It is because of this adaptation. And so, when organisms of the same group occupy different environment or habitat, they develop different kinds of adaptation. On this basis, adaptive radiation can be defined. Therefore, organisms of the same group that shows different adaptation in different habitats your habitat refers to the environmental condition in which they live. Can be defined as adaptive radiation. Thus, different organisms living in different environmental conditions exhibit different kinds of properties. This law of adaptive radiation was first proposed by a scientist named Osborn. Thus, adaptive radiation in single word can be defined as divergence, or we can say divergent evolution. That is, something adapted in a different manner which makes it evolution for the organism. This divergent evolution or adaptive radiation is mainly caused by few factors like the need for food, that is obviously by the organism. Second, the need for safety. Third, need for better breeding ground. It is for this reason that the better breeding group can help in better reproduction. Further, other factors like absence of enemies through which their survival becomes long-lasting possible. Fifth, migration to a new habitat. which definitely leads to a new environmental condition. Then other factors like isolation and many such others. These are the factors mainly which are responsible for creation of adaptive radiation for organisms. Till now we have studied about what is adaptive radiation and how does it occur. Now let us understand its classification. Adaptive radiation is broadly classified into three categories. These includes first, local adaptive branching. This is a type of adaptive radiation which refers to the development of diversification in a largely distributed population. Thus, in this type, the development of diversification or diversified organism occurs in a largely distributed population. The best example of this local adaptive branching is the types of rhinoceros that are found especially in Africa, out of which the one is grazing type which occurs in the open land areas and the second is a browsing type which lives in the wooded areas. All the rhinoceros are of the same kind, that is belong to the same species, but exhibit different kinds of habitats. These type of rhinoceros are found in Africa. Out of which one is grazing and lives in open land areas, while the other is of browsing type that lives in woody areas. This is the example of local adaptive branching. The second type is continental adaptive radiation. In this type of adaptive radiation, the reference to the evolutionary lines that occurs in the organism that belongs to a particular class occurs in a continent. Thus, in this type, evolutionary lines that live in the same continent occurs in organisms of the particular classes. The example of continental adaptive radiation is of specialized organisms that are found in Australia known as marsupials. These Australian marsupials differ from each other. Although they live in the same continent and belongs to the same species, but still they differ from each other. The third type of adaptive radiation is contemporaneous radiation. It is a type of adaptive radiation that occurs in the organism or animals that belongs to great zoogeographic region. Of the world. That is the animals that belong to such a region which involves the zoogeographic, that is geographic involved in zoo-like regions of the world, are known as contemporaneous radiation. That is, such animals exhibit this type of radiation. Now let us study one of the best examples of the adaptive radiation that helps in understanding in brief. The example is of Darwin finches. This Darwin finches was first observed by the scientist named Darwin on Galapagos Island. On this island, Darwin observed diversity in various bird-like creatures which he called finches. These birds were small and black in color. And such birds were called finches. Which later on he termed as Darwin finches. In this he observed many varieties of the finches and on the same island. This figure depicts the variety of finches, that is the Darwin finches. As it can be seen from the figure, the same bird exhibit different features and resulting in different varieties. The original one was the seed-eating fincher, that is represented in between, which is a modification in the beak of the finch according to various habitat or availability of food. And it is this beak modification that exhibits different varieties of birds.